Hey everybody, take a look at me. I've got street credibility. If you know what that line is from, I want a comment in the comment section. And if you're the first person to get it right, you'll get a like from me. Okay, that'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? Thank you so much for coming back. If you've been here, I won't thank you for coming back if this is the first time you've been here. But I'm still grateful for your arrival. If you'll accept that, will you accept it? I'll never know. Fine art and filmmaking are just like baking a cake. The script is the sugar, without which, shit cake. A good crew, the eggs, without which the project will not bind. Splendid actors, the flour, to give rise and substance. As a director, just as a baker, you must stir the mixture at the correct times. You must know when to leave things well alone. In today's little piece, I provide tasty sugar and baking expertise. I have with me eggs and I have flour. But what kind of cake will it be? Medieval cake. For today we shall work once more through the machinations of medieval Europe with all its intrigue in the unavoidably wonderful creation, Death and Taxes. Talk to actors. Wow, you know, time is a thief. Time is a thief. And she steals your looks, she steals your health, and she steals the people you love. So that's not very good, is it? But she's also invincible, as far as we can tell, so we just have to put up with it. Death and Taxes, another of my projects that I really do think has a wonderful future. There's so many that I've got on the go here that I almost wish I never had another good idea, because there's just too much to do and there isn't enough time, yeah, with her cruelty. Death and Taxes, we've not tackled this for maybe 3 or 4 months, but it is splendid, and you're going to love it. Everybody loves medieval stuff. They love swords and they love shields. They love mace. They love horses. They love armour. Yeah. Mm-hmm. People don't think about how cold it was, because even in summer summer evenings. If you've ever been out, have you ever gone camping? Have you ever been that unlucky?
Yeah, several times.
Horrible, right?
Disgusting.
But you can go camping in August, and somehow in the evenings it's like, oh, it's quite chilly now. So imagine that. Imagine if you'd been in medieval Europe, even if you had a castle with a fire, a lot of the time, pretty cold. And that's why most of them died in their 40s. Oh. So, in this scene, Henry Castledrake returns home from the Crusades after receiving the news of his father's demise. He finds his mother ill, now too, in the 9 months his journey has taken. She is apparently on her deathbed speaking in tongues, while cold advisors Archibald Coldstoat and Mandible Finance circle for favour with the new Lord Castledrake. Right, so let's pick the roles. We have 4 roles. We've got 4 roles, we've got 4 people. It's almost as if it were planned.
God.
Right, so we've got
Who'd have thought?
Henry Castledrake, the new Lord Castledrake. Yeah, with his sword. We've got Mother Lady Castledrake, who's speaking in tongues, and boy does she do it well. We've got Archibald, and we've got Mandible. So, is anybody going, God, it's 4 really good roles, but is there one that you favour?
I would love to be Lady Castledrake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ready with your rhyming tongues?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So that's Bagseed. Who else? What are you thinking? What are you thinking, guys?
What would you think for me? What
You?
would you have me play?
Mandible.
Okay.
You've played Harry in the past.
I believe I have,
rather well.
Yeah.
In quite pantomime fashion, you know.
Yeah.
Leading boy.
Real slapstick.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
good
lead boy.
times.
Yeah. So unless you're averse to the idea, I would continue that tradition.
I'm very happy to do that.
And I'll be
how old
Archibald.
is Harry now?
He's about 25 now. He's had five years in the Crusades.
Oh yeah, okay.
Do you remember we did one where his father died? Remember the background music?
Oh my God, of course.
Yeah, his father died. He learned of that while he was in the Holy Land.
Yeah.
And he was like, I have to get back because there
away.
needs to be a law. I must away. I shall away. I shall away.
Away.
It's taken him 9 months to get back because Holy Land is a long way from England, particularly in those days. Well, it's the same distance, but they couldn't get there as quickly. So you needed to get on a boat, and you weren't sure. You know, that was a bit rickety old thing. And you needed to ride your horse across a lot of land. A few stops on the way. You know, I hear Venice is nice. You know, that kind of vibe. But it's taken him 9 months to get back.
Yeah.
And he arrives and then finds his mother in ill health and England all in an uproar. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, the two advisors are religious types, as is mentioned in the script that you'll see pretty soon, I promise. And they do have his interests at heart. They're long-term advisors, as mentioned, of grandfathers and that kind of thing. But they're trying to focus his mind on the political and less so on his crazy mother. And he's a bit torn in both directions because he was a kind of gad-about town young man, and now he's the Lord. Gosh. And this is something that happens to you in life. Usually at some point in your 30s, but it varies from person to person. Suddenly you're in charge. You weren't in charge, and then you are. And it kind of happens, this kind of crossfade. For some people it's instant, because there's a car crash or something. But generally there's a crossfade of a few years, where at the start of that, you're just kind of mucking about, you're being a kid. A few years pass, a few things happen, and suddenly you're making all the decisions. Right? That's what happens. And this has happened to him. A little early for him, but then everything was a bit earlier when in the medieval times.
True,
you know.
true, yeah.
His life was shorter, so the
Yeah,
events happened
People
earlier.
You couldn't rely on anything. People would just get ill and die. You know, it'd be like, oh, my father's in control of everything. I'll not worry. Oh, he feels ill one day. 2 days later, he's dead.
Yeah.
Right, now it's you. You know,
Yeah.
and that's brutal.
Cycle of life in the medieval times.
People forget about that. I mean, it's bad until like 100 years ago, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's been an upward trend since then.
Less paperwork.
That's true.
Yeah, quite right.
Because you had to copy everything out. You know, and that's if you had a monk. You needed a monk to do it, and most people weren't important enough to have a monk. Yeah. Most people still aren't important enough to have a monk. I'd like a monk, but they're not.
What, a paperwork monk?
That'd be great. It's badgering away, isn't it?
Bit expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like one though. I'd like a yacht. Bit expensive.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
Right. We know our parts. The two advisors greet Harry outside the castle as he dismounts from his horse.
Lord Castledrake, welcome home.
Mandible, thank you, though I'll never get used to being called Lord. Archibald?
I was in this castle 30 years ago when your grandfather was lost to us. Your own father said much the same, but it grew with him.
He wore it well. Where is my mother?
I'm afraid she has not done well with her father's passing. She lay sick.
And growing weaker by the day. 'Tis due to God's grace. You have arrived in time.
St. Bowles, take me to her.
The three move at pace towards Lady Castledrake's bedchamber, the older men struggling to keep up.
I must warn you, my lord. She is much changed in the 5 years since you left.
I will see for myself.
Harry steps into the bedchamber and sees his mother, much diminished and being settled by chambermaids.
Mother.
The rat's tongue will be plucked as a raspberry in October. Fie, fie, and I shall go with my master to Hades and bring with me a bowl of fine wines and apples.
What is she saying?
She has been this way for weeks now. We cannot get any sense.
Her ravings could be the work of demons.
No, never. It is a sickness.
Satan has many weapons in his arsenal, my lord.
Harry kneels close to his mother. Trying to catch her eye, she turns to him.
I knew a boy once, pretty as can be. He dined at night and slept in the sea. His eyes did prick to the sound of a drum, and there he followed it. Gone, gone, gone.
Mother, I'm back now. Everything will be well.
She turns away and quietens.
Have you spoken with the priest?
He refuses to enter the castle. He fears dark forces surround us.
Well, then what is the point of him?
My lord, I am sorrowful that your welcome has been dampened by your mother's condition, but there is much to discuss.
Enemies of flesh are circling too. Your lands are not safe.
But I am pledged to the king's cause. He understands my reasons for leaving the Holy Land.
The king is gone too long. His power over the nobility has waned. England is on the verge of civil war, and the king's brother expects to show him fealty.
The king's brother is not the king.
In all but name, while his grace wars with Saxons all those moons away.
You are expected at court day after tomorrow. It will not be wise to refuse.
Oh, I won't refuse, but I'll not go empty-handed.
Harry leaves the bedchamber with purpose. Yeah. Have you left a room with purpose before? Yeah, but you're going to come back, so that isn't really... If you left and you didn't come back, then...
Yeah.
But that would be gutsy at this point, because
That
you still
would-
have your
sorry,
microphone attached.
Yeah,
And we'd-
I could
And we'd
just
hear you
leave.
like walking away and like... You'd
Get
like
me on
take,
the
you have a
tube.
phone call. Oh, I can't believe I just left this shoot. You know, all
Yeah.
of that stuff would
Talking
go
to
on.
my agent.
Yeah.
Now, that was pretty solid.
Mm.
I'm a bit concerned that he was fighting Saxons in the Holy Land.
Yes.
Because they could have done that much closer.
Big word, and
Saracens.
Yeah.
it came at me.
Came at you.
Saracens.
Yeah, because that's like Spurs playing Arsenal in Singapore. You know, it's like it could happen in pre-season, okay, but it's expensive. They could just do it in North London.
Yeah.
All right. So, but other than that, you know, no, not just that. That was okay. You know, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think really get the sense of Harry being pulled in all directions. It's like, oh God, what now? I've just got off my horse, and England's falling apart.
Yeah.
I've got the brother of the king saying I've got to swear fealty to him, and I'm like, but I haven't annoyed the king. He talked to the king. He talked to the king in the Holy Land. Said, I've got to go back because my father has died, and I've got to secure the lands, you know, in your name.
Yeah.
So the king was like, good idea,
Yeah.
but I'm going to hang out here still, and that's turning into a mistake. So the king's brother is sort of taking over,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh, you pledge fealty to me. She's got all of this, and his mum's being weird.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a
good.
lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It really is all
She's
just coming at him
possessed by
from all
the
directions.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I
Yeah.
think it's a good understanding of what was required. She's lost it. She's really lost it, and she's on the edge of death in a way. I mean,
I find it quite poetic, some of the stuff she says. He dined at night and slept in the sea, and very metaphorical.
she's describing her lost son, who she is looking into the eyes of as she is saying it, but she doesn't recognise him. But there is a degree of recognition there. Okay, it's a degree of recognition which sparks the thought in her head.
Yeah.
You know, the boy's gone, and so and remember that there would be, even if she were fully compos mentis, she's not seen him in 5 years.
Yeah.
And in medieval times, particularly when you've been crusading,
Yeah.
I mean, you change a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, your eyes and the general face would be there, but it, been
There'd
through
be an
some
edge
stuff.
of weariness. Wrinkles.
So, but there was a degree of recognition, but then she's lost to the world again. So there's a lot, very medieval, all of that speaking in tongues stuff.
Yeah.
You don't see as much of that anymore. It's just a shame in a way, because it's really entertaining. Now, we'll do it one more time. I mean, I'd score that. I don't know about you. Probably harshly, because that's how you are, isn't it, internet? But I'd score that an 8, and I think the way that we improve it is, really kind of. I don't want to dig you out because I thought you did a solid job.
But
kind of
get it to a 10.
You know.
A bit out of breath. Exasperated.
And I think I'm gonna advise from more of a distance, kind of could be a demon, a little bit. I think maybe you could play it a bit closer. So you're like you're a bit kinder than I am. I'm a bit more, because I'm a cold stoat.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a bit more kindness to it, a bit more care.
Yeah. So he's got.
But still pushy.
I'm sort of, forget her, she's gonna die. People die, it's medieval.
Yeah.
Okay? People die all the time.
Yeah.
Nothing new. Like
When Archibald's mother
news.
died,
Yeah.
it just happened, and they just threw her out the window. It's like, the dogs can have her,
Yeah.
Maybe not that far, but okay. So you just got to get over that. England is in an uproar, and you're a little bit more sensitive to the situation.
Okay.
The two advisors greet Harry outside the castle as he dismounts from his horse.
Lord Castledrake, welcome home.
Mandible, thank you, though I'll never get used to being called Lord. Archibald?
I was in this castle 30 years ago, and your grandfather was lost to us. Your own father said much the same, but it grew with him.
Yeah, he wore it well. Where is my mother?
I am afraid she has not done well with your father's passing. She lays sick.
And growing weaker by the day. 'Tis due to God's grace you have arrived in time.
Oh, St. Bowles, where will take me to her?
The three move at pace towards Lady Castledrake's bedchamber, the older men struggling to keep up.
I must warn you, my lord, she is much changed in the 5 years since you left.
I will see for myself.
Harry steps into the bedchamber and sees his mother, much diminished, and being settled by chambermaids.
Mother?
The rat's tongue will be plucked as a raspberry in October. Fie, fie, and I shall go with my master to Hades and bring with me a bowl of fine wines and apples.
What is she saying?
She has been this way for weeks now. We cannot get any sense.
Her ravings could be the work of demons.
No, never. It's a sickness.
Satan has many weapons in his arsenal, my lord.
Harry kneels close to his mother, trying to catch her eye. She turns to him.
I knew a boy once, pretty as can be. He dined at night and slept in the sea. His ears did prick to the sound of a drum, and there he followed it. Gone.
Mother, I'm back now. Everything will be well.
She turns away and quietens.
Have you spoken with the priest?
He refuses to enter the castle. He fears dark forces surround us.
Well, then what is the point of him?
My lord, I am sorrowful that your welcome has been dampened by your mother's condition, but there is much to discuss.
Enemies of flesh are circling too. Your lands are not safe.
But I am pledged to the king's cause. He understands my reasons for leaving the Holy Land.
The king is gone too long. His powers over the nobility have waned. England is on the verge of civil war, and the king's brother expects you to show him fealty.
The king's brother is not the king.
In all but name, while his grace wars with Saracens all those moons away.
You are expected at court the day after tomorrow. It will not be wise to refuse.
I won't refuse, but I will not go empty-handed.
Harry leaves the bedchamber with purpose. Yes, you get the sense that he is going to find something to put in his hand that he will take to
just find
court.
an apple or
Could be an apple, could be a sword, could
I was
be
thinking a weapon, yeah.
or a friend
a friend.
who's like important. I don't know.
Grabs a
Well, I do
hand.
know. I have a sense of it. Have a sense of it because I write it, obviously. But
Apples could be weaponized if you had
Poison.
Could.
Yeah.
Slingshot.
Yeah.
1,000 apples in a slingshot.
1,000 apples in a
Fucks them
slingshot.
up,
That's a-
wouldn't it?
That's a bad Wednesday.
Isn't that like Dennis the Menace?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
with his slingshot.
Yeah.
What would you say if you were pushed? Is the fewest apples you could kill a man with?
Oh, yeah. In the same spot, I'm going to say 25.
Oh.
25.
I could kill a man with 25 apples.
Apples. 25.
That seems low.
See, I was gonna say, I've lowballed it. I thought 5.
You
You're
get
really,
really?
good.
Precision.
Really, really precise.
cannon
Yeah,
apple. Like,
yeah.
yeah, you got the right kind of gun, kind of apple gun.
I reckon 50 apples compressed into one big apple nugget, and then that just shot out of a cannon straight to the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's all about the power of propulsion,
There are
as much
factors.
as, I mean, an apple will never replace a bullet, but if you fire it hard enough and fast enough, it will do the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not as effective as real munitions, but
God, that really mess you up.
maybe you'd sharpen it.
Yeah.
The woman who
But
had
it
a
would-
melon slingshot directly back into her face.
Oh, actually,
Have you seen that?
She,
I've heard.
I've
She
heard of it.
slingshots a melon and it goes out and it comes right back into her face.
Ooh, yeah.
She was severely ill. Not ill, she was
Lost-
damaged, she was
lost
very
Yeah.
injured.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was very bruised.
And that was just boing, yeah.
Straight back in the
Yeah.
face.
Melon's bigger than an apple.
Yeah. A
Um,
lot tougher than an apple.
I mean,
but
Less dense though. I'd say a melon.
watermelon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
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 It's
But
amazing she lived, actually.
I mean, they do that thing where they put rubber bands over a watermelon, and eventually it just explodes.
I'll
I've
just keep
heard.
pressurizing it.
Yeah, you just
Oh,
keep
that's-
putting,
Oh yes,
Like
yeah, just on
50,
top,
yeah.
on top,
and
it will
eventually it just
What
Yeah,
about
that's
those
too much.
people that
splatters everywhere.
they squash watermelons between their thighs?
Mm.
I could do that. Yeah, I could do
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I met
Yeah.
It
her.
hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Well,
another episode.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Certainly.
another
It's an episode of something.
Yeah.
I'm sure it would sell, but not on YouTube. Yeah, killjoys. Yeah. Well, look, I thought a nice touch on a chilly evening. A nice touch of medieval excitement.
Yeah.
Almost, kind of exciting. You're building to something all the time. You never stop building. There's so many threads and so many levels, but you're never not building. It's never like a lull. Like most things that get made, they kind of like by the 5th or 6th episode of stuff in a season, they're like, this is the filler.
The filler episode.
A filler on an average album, just like, you can just walk about in this one.
Yeah.
No, can't
Not
do
here.
that. You've always got to be building. Got to be building. So we know, right, his mother's in trouble. We know England is in an uproar. He's got a meeting with the king's brother that he's not very happy about. We don't know what he's going to do. And that's what gets people coming back for more. They go, oh, what's going to happen next?
Yeah, the politics.
Right. And so if we get this on a major streaming service, which I think is probably quite likely, the way that it works today is they will not release everything in one go anymore. And that's just to keep you subscribed because they need your money, because they've spent too much money on not very good things. So they probably go, oh, we've got to be like a week apart. But people will be People want to know. That's not necessarily the end of the episode. That's just one of 100 things happening, and they'll be like,
One piece
"Oh,
of
we've
the
got
puzzle."
to, we've got to know." They probably won't even go to like work. You know, just wait for like next week. You know, if people still go to work.
Yeah.
When you're watching this, do people still go to work? They're stopping. Yeah, it's not a good deal. It's not a good deal, is it? So, look. That was a rendition. That was a rendition and a half of a medieval drama that, you know, I think has got a real chance of getting picked up. It's a few conversations away from a green light, probably, that one, because it's so special. Could be super special. Now, if you enjoyed what we did and want to support the things that we're doing, what you've got to do is probably I'll set up something where you can give me money. But until then, people are on at me about that. They go, "You should do this thing where people give you money to support you." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't really want money from people because they want stuff in return." They go, "Oh, I gave you £5 this year. Could you give me the moon on a stick for that?" Well, not really. It's not a lot of money, actually. So as you can feel, there's a pushback and there's a pullback on that. I'm not saying it won't happen. It could happen, because I'm under pressure from lots of different directions, okay, to do things like that. But as of right now, there's probably not anything in the description you can give me money with. So best of all, subscribe if you haven't, because you're still watching now, aren't you? Right? So you must have liked something about it. And that brings me on to obviously the liking thing, which you're at liberty to do. I'm not bothered if you do. If you did like it, you know, and you're one of those people who really loves the internet and likes things, then by all means. What you shouldn't do, if you've got this far and you're like, "I'm going to dislike that now," then you can get stuffed. All right? Anyway, see you later. Bye.